Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Out and About AF. I'm your host, Gabe, and this is the podcast where we share sobriety journeys from individuals from the LGBTQIA plus community and our allies. And I am very excited for this episode. We have a lot to talk about. It's Pride Month. We were just talking about how we have stuff going on every weekend. And so with me, I have Avital. Avital, how are you doing today?
I'm doing amazing. Super excited to be here with you today and just to talk all things pride and sobriety.
Yeah, for sure. And we met on social media, which we're going to dive into all of this, but just a brief overview. Avital is 5 years sober,
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 years sober. As we were talking, like we hate corporate, had to
Mhm.
get out of it, gave up
Mhm.
alcohol, but still want to have fun and still want to go out and
Yeah.
explore and find who we really are and everything. And I was like, yeah, this is going to be a great episode. And or Avital at the end of the month is having is it uh, zero proof bar crawl?
Yeah, it's called Sober and Proud. It's a zero proof pride bar crawl on
Awesome.
June
That is a
20.
tongue twister.
Yeah.
But before we get into all of that, Avital, tell us a little bit about where you're from. What is the sobriety journey for you? How has that been for the past 5 years?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Houston and I had a very wild time growing up here, just, around a lot of drugs and alcohol and just growing up around it. My stepdad was an alcoholic. And so, drinking was a big part of life. Um, and for me, once I started drinking, it was not really about just enjoying one or two, glasses of drinks. It was really to get fucked up. It was to numb out, to escape reality, to avoid dealing with my shit. Because I had a lot of things growing up that I wasn't dealing with in a healthy way. I wasn't processing my emotions, and I just didn't know how to process my emotions back then. Because I grew up in a household where, I wasn't allowed to really feel my emotions. I was told, like, "Don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about," that kinda situation. So,
I know that
growing
very well.
up. Yeah, and I think that's a big part of, just different cultures. So my stepdad's from Mexico, and my mom is from Russia. And so just growing up with, like, very tough,
Yeah,
cold, unemotional humans, because they're just trying to survive. They're just trying to make money to provide food and house, a roof over our heads. So emotions was not a priority, right? But as we
right.
know, we're humans, we're emotional beings, and we need to feel, especially as children. And what happens is when you don't feel your emotions, they manifest in different ways, like physical or emotional illness, right? So that's why
Yeah.
so many people struggle with, like, anxiety and depression, and they use things like alcohol or drugs to cope and numb. And so that's exactly what I did. And it wasn't until about 5 years ago that really started a deep healing journey for myself. That's when COVID started, everything shut down. So I finally got an opportunity to slow down and go inward and really heal the parts of myself that I've been avoiding dealing, right? I was just moving so fast throughout my whole life, really focused on career, making money, having fun. I was working in corporate America during that time. And once I slowed down a bit, I realized, like, hey, this is actually out of alignment for me, especially once you start diving deep on, like, the spiritual journey, you start opening up your eyes into the reality of the systems that we live in, right?
Mhm.
And how they just keep us stuck and numb and sick and disconnected from ourselves. So, yeah, when I was working in corporate America, it definitely served its purpose. I learned a lot. I was in sales. And so it really helped me just become confident within myself and to speaking to people, because that's a part of, like, running a business, right? You need to know how to communicate with people and to be told no, many times. And yeah, it definitely built that grit and resiliency within me. But it was just out of alignment. I didn't want to work in corporate America anymore. And so I decided to go back to school, study holistic health, started my own practice, and started helping people all over the world with their own healing journey at the same time as my own healing journey. So as I learned and went deeper in that journey, I shared it with the world. But yeah, at that time, I decided to get sober because I was also just physically ill, not just from just the stress of work, stress of life. It definitely affected me on a physical level. So alcohol was one of the first things that had to go.
Yeah, no, that's amazing, and congratulations on, the 5 years and, finding that you want more for yourself, and now you're doing it, which is
Mhm.
freaking amazing, and that's what I always like to tell people, like, once you get sober, life doesn't end, it starts, and you get to just
Mhm.
experience all these things, but I definitely wanna go back a little bit to kind of where you started. Yeah, I can totally relate to the Mexican family, and we loved each other, we talked, I mean, I'm very close with my family, but we never really dove too much into the feelings of things, like,
Mhm.
we're in a group chat, we talk every day, but, we don't really know what's going on with each other, and so, yeah, it's like, how do you do that? And for myself, I have 2 older sisters with pretty big age gap, so it was me by myself, and so I had to entertain myself and figure things out, and especially, like, dealing with, like, my sexuality, what I didn't even know at the time, that was like, "I don't know what this is about. I know it's bad, quote, unquote, because we're
Mhm.
also Catholic growing up."
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of yeah, like, I it's so common when you hear people talk about growing up not being able to share feelings, and I don't blame my family, it's just what they did, it's, like you said, it's how they survived, it's just,
Mhm.
we gotta get through this, and for myself, I was like, I had to quiet out the thoughts. I had a lot of thoughts going on, and what I wish I knew back then was ADHD.
Mhm.
Alcohol quieted those thoughts, and
Mhm.
then came the insecurities, the anxiety, and then all that's going on with it, and so then I did it for confidence and stuff like that, so but I do have to add, it blows my mind when people go into the pandemic and just stop drinking, because
Mhm.
mine ramped up. So, like,
Mm.
how were before the pandemic, were you, like, going clubbing or were you more drinking at home? Like, what was that kinda dynamic like?
Yeah, so a couple years before I had moved to Denver. So I was living in Houston and around 25 I moved to Denver. And that was actually my way of getting away from my environment because I was going down a wrong path. Like, if
Mhm.
I would have stayed in Houston, I would have continued drinking heavily, drugs, like, who knows? Honestly, like, I say it all the time. I'm so grateful to be alive today because the way that I lived back then, I was just living fast and hard and didn't care about my life. Like, I remember basically getting blackout drunk every weekend. I would drive home the next day, wouldn't even know how I got home. Like, and I remember I love to drive fast, so I know I was driving fast while drunk. Like,
Yeah,
I can't believe I'm still alive today, you know?
yeah.
So when I moved to Denver, it was just a way for me to create a new life and it opened up my eyes to a different way of living. It's the environment that you're in makes such a huge difference. And if you surround yourself with people that are always just, getting drunk, doing drugs, like you're going to be just like that. And so I had to get away. And I'm so grateful that I did. And I got to make a whole new family out there and people that took care of themselves. They were healthy. Like they didn't they didn't go out. They went skiing, they went snowboarding, they went hiking, That was their way to deal with their emotions, to process, to feel. Instead of going to the bars. So, there wasn't really an environment to do that. So, I will say though, I was smoking a lot of weed back then. So that was kind of like my coping mechanism, especially when COVID started.
Yeah.
That's when it got really heavy, just smoking a lot of weed, which it kind of, works the same way, right? It just depends on your intention behind it. Like it can be such a beautiful medicine when used with the right intention. But back then, I definitely was overusing it, but it also served me in in a way where it helped me process a lot of emotions. I started working with psychedelics at that time as well, sitting with plant medicine, specifically psychedelic mushrooms. So that really helped me as well. Microdosing was a big part because it with microdosing, it really just helps you be more aware and conscious of those thoughts, of those feelings that are coming up. So, and giving you that pause between that reaction. And, now that's actually one of the things I do is I teach people how to work with this medicine so that they don't go to alcohol, so they don't go to drugs and other unhealthy, coping mechanisms. And
Mhm.
instead learning to rewire their brain because that's a big part, right? Like if you're so used to every time you start feeling anxious, you go for a drink or smoke or whatever that is. It's such a deep subconscious wiring, and working with plant medicine helped me personally to rewire, to reframe, and use different way. Go outside for a walk, go call a friend. Like those are my new coping mechanisms instead of
Right.
drinking. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is really just learning, like learning these things instead of just having the one. But no, I totally get that. I really like that. And you went from humid as hell, Houston, to Colorado where it's cold. Do you like the cold or like what like what is that?
I do not like the cold. After Denver, I actually moved to New York for 3 years and it was miserable. 6 months out of the year, just cold, dark, and gloomy. I will say though, living in Denver, they're known for 300 days of sun out of the year. So even if it was cold outside, it was still sunny. So you can go
Sunny.
outside and have like the warm sun, touching your face, and it still felt nice, and everyone's just happy there. You can't like not be happy there.
Yeah.
And yeah, in New York, everyone's fucking miserable. They hate everything and, angry all the time and because it's cold and gloomy. So the weather definitely makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Um, and I will say, like, now coming back to Houston about 3.5 years ago, yeah, I would much rather be in the warmth. Um, and, speaking of coming back, I was actually really worried coming back. I was like,
Yeah.
what if I start drinking again? What if I get caught up in the wrong crowd? Because I know so many people in Houston, and there's some people that I stay away from because it's just not a good idea. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I didn't. I just deepened my habits, my beliefs, built my own community, and really surrounded myself with like-minded people because that makes a huge difference.
Nice. Yeah, I say it all the time. Community is everything. Like,
Mhm.
if I didn't have my community, I'd still be drinking.
Yeah.
And I know we always say, like, well, you're doing the work, you're doing the work. And yes, it's true. I'm very proud of myself and I take a lot of credit, but I also give a lot of credit back to my community because
Yeah.
I never cry. I don't know what it is. I've tried. Like I've sat there. I sometimes the TikTok videos get me. If it's like
Yeah.
puppy videos or, I'll tear up, but I can't just cry. It's something I'm working through. But in a
Mm,
meeting a couple of weeks ago, it was someone was sharing their story and I just broke down. I was like, I needed to hear that because I was having conversations of, well, maybe I can go back drinking. Like it's been over a year and a half. I'm about to hit 2 years. Like, maybe I can. Like, and that's, the big red flag of
yeah.
something is not right. Cause it's not that I
Yeah.
want to go back to drinking, but something isn't working for me.
Mm.
And hearing this story, he had relapsed, 2 years or 2.5 years, and I'm like, I'm right there. I didn't realize it. And so, yeah, hearing all that. So you went to school or you went back to school because of corporate. What was it about corporate?
Yeah.
Because I have a lot of feelings on this. I think
Mhm.
I would drink again if I went back to corporate.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was it like
Yeah.
for you?
For
And
sure.
what was the I need to get the hell
Yeah.
out of here?
Yeah. Well, um, I like I said, I was in sales and I was doing door-to-door sales. And so when COVID hit, everything got shut down. I was living in New
Mm,
York. So they wouldn't let us out of our house. We had to stay indoors and work from home. And it was just a lot of stress, a lot of pressure, a lot of anxiety, and I was just getting, more and more sick physically, emotionally, having anxiety attacks, panic attacks. And now I know that's my body saying that there's something out of alignment. And the thing with corporate America is, we're just cogs in the wheels. We are just these little worker bees to make, the system, the rich richer, which, it's fine. Like I don't have an issue with like wealth. It's more about I didn't feel like I had freedom, and there was this meeting. This was like the turning point. I remember
Mhm.
so clearly. I was in this meeting with like the president of the company I was working for, and they were upset at us because the paperwork was incorrect. Like we had mistakes on the paperwork to submit the sales orders. And he said something that just it made me so sick to my stomach, and I was like, "No, I can't do this anymore. I'm done." And the thing that he says is that basically we have like, what's this word? Like we owe it to the stakeholders to make sure that the paperwork is right, because like we're here to make them more money, you know? And that just made me so sick. I'm like, "You're upset about paperwork, and then we're hearing about all these people dying and being, like bodies being, put into fucking trucks." Like, I don't know if you heard in New York, it
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
wild. But I mean,
Like, you were
the
running out of room.
well, yeah, and they were just throwing dead bodies, like, piling
Yeah.
them up, and they were
That's crazy.
it was bad, but and then there's a whole 'nother story around COVID as far as my beliefs, like and, we can definitely go into that, but
Well,
maybe
no,
not,
I
maybe not, but
I was gonna say, yeah, like, I feel like that would put a lot of things in perspective of,
yeah,
you don't care about us or
yeah,
anything, and that's exactly how we felt because we obviously started working from home, and they had gotten really strict with us, and people were getting written up and fired, and so we were understaffed, but we were still working a lot, and it all like I don't like to use the word gaslight, but we would tell them like, "Hey, we're struggling here." And I was one of the main people that would voice it because I'm like, "I'm stressing out." I They made me go to I had to do therapy because of this job.
yeah,
And but they were like, "Yeah, we know. Like, we understand and we're
yeah,
trying to like
yeah,
help us and we're trying to help, but
but you
just
still have
because
to do
we're
your
doing."
job.
Yeah, well, I worked for a company that did, software for small businesses, and at the
Mhm,
time, the big push was going digital, and so they kept using these small businesses, and I'm like, "Yeah, I
yeah,
get it, but I still have to care about me too." And so, yeah,
yeah,
we drank, so I'm always
mm,
interested on how that actually happens and, with people because I know a few people that once they went into COVID, they stopped drinking and then part of me is like, well, how? Like, did you do it by yourself? Were there like online AA meeting? Because like the online community meetings, it popped up because of COVID. So I'm always like
mhm,
curious. Were you part
yeah.
of any programs or?
Yeah, so I didn't go to AA specifically. I did learn about AA, just on my
Mhm.
own, and some of the tools definitely helped me, like the HALT method. I don't know if you went to AA,
Love
but the
Halt.
HALT method, yeah. Yeah. So that
Yeah.
was like a big part. And then just going back to school, I went to the the Institute of Integrative Nutrition,
Uh-huh.
and so that just allowed me to deep dive into holistic health, wellness, really healing myself and learning how to take care of myself, because I did not know how to take care of myself. I didn't
Right.
know how, there's this concept of primary and secondary foods, where secondary foods, that's like the food on your plate, but primary foods, what's most important, which is community, the work that you're doing, your
Oh yeah.
relationships, those things. And if you're, not feeling nourished in those aspects, then that's when we start doing those unhealthy things like drinking, drugs, eating unhealthy foods. So, really learning how to take care of myself. And that's like the biggest piece. Like, for people that are drinking alcohol, most likely they're not taking care of themselves, especially if they're consuming on an unhealthy way, unhealthy amount. And so learning about how important it is to nourish yourself, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And then once you learn about what alcohol is, from my beliefs, it's a man-made thing. And so they call it a spirit for a reason, because it lifts the veil to the spirit world. And because it's man made and made for the reason of like keeping us down, it allows these negative entities to get into you. I don't know if you've heard of that concept, but
No, I
uh,
haven't, but I like it.
yeah. And so that's why people start acting in ways that they don't normally act, right? Because they're possessed by demons. So, yeah, I mean, alcohol it's not meant for it's a poison. It's a literal
Right.
poison, whether on a spiritual level, a physical level, like it's killing us. So I think
Yeah.
understanding that concept is what really helped me to be like, do not put that in me.
Yeah, no, that's such a good point that you hit on, like, because that's what helped me a lot is, like, wrap my head around it of, like, the actual damage it does, all around, and, yeah, you hear alcohol is bad, but until you know what it actually does, and, one thing that helped me kind of start to let go of it was the anxiety part, right? Like, alcohol is a depressant, but I
Mhm.
used it to relax
Mm.
and, like, it causes more anxiety, like the
Yeah.
cortisol of it all and everything, and it's
Yep.
just like, "Why?" Like, it's just one of those, like, "Why am I doing this to myself?"
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I'm on anti-anxiety medication, so that's not helping, and,
Yeah.
you
And
know
mixing the 2, oh my gosh. Mm-mm.
Oh, I mean, I thought I would always say I'm a cheap date because 3 drinks in, I'm drunk,
Yeah.
but I would still manage to get 10, like,
Mm.
so, yeah, similar to you, I was blacking out every weekend, and, the doctors say, "Don't drink this," or "Don't be on alcohol," or "Don't drink alcohol if you're on this." I always thought, "Oh, well, they just said that with everything," it's like, no, they have a point. You don't wanna be on this. And so it is definitely interesting to hear, and I think that is the main thing is education,
Mhm.
educating people. Like, what is the book, This Naked Mind? Um, I read that book and it kind of goes into the science of it and actually what happens. But yeah, and for me, in like how do I put this? Once I gave up alcohol, I started seeing other things that are beneficial to me,
Mhm.
of what I'm actually eating and doing. Like before, I always talked about, like, I love doing yoga, when I was drinking, but I never did yoga. But Sober Me does yoga.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love yoga, like,
I love yoga
because it
too.
gives me yeah. One of my friends, he's like, "Hey, come do this class with me." And I was like, "Okay." Sunday morning, I'm like, "Alright." We go and I'm like because in my head, I always thought yoga was which it is, don't get me wrong, but it's, very the calming music of it all. This one, they
Mhm.
played, like, rock music, and it was just
Nice.
very, like I liked it. I got, like, energy from it, and then,
Yeah.
meditation at the end of just laying back and just hearing that, hearing her voice, it was just a really cool experience, and so softball gets in the way of that, but I'll be going back. So, but yeah, like you
Uh,
just start to get curious about all these other things. And I think that
mhm. Yep.
I always say that's one of the gifts that sobriety does give you is the
Absolutely.
opportunity to do all this, right?
Yeah.
So you have your practice, and with all this stuff going on, like in terms of journeys, right? We spoke off camera about this, but I guess I'll announce it here. I'm actually running for Mr. Dallas Eagle 2026, and it's a leather competition.
Yay.
And yeah, I'm totally nervous about it, but we'll get through it. But I was talking about like just these journeys. I feel like I just have such a growth mindset right now, like, I don't think that's ever gonna go away now, but I'm excited to see what comes in the future of what I'm gonna
Mhm.
wanna lean into, and so, have you experienced anything like that, like, in general? Like, I know we're kind of talking about doing the Pride and sober bar crawl and stuff, so, like, where does that land? How do you feel about that?
About just the journey that I've been
Well, the
on as
journey of yeah, like, finding the journey of, like discovering yourself? What other
Yeah.
sides have you discovered of yourself? That's the
Mhm.
question.
Yeah, yeah. I think the biggest thing is really remembering too, not just discovering, but remembering who I am and coming back
Such a big
home
one.
to myself, because when I was drinking, I, was numbing out a lot and not feeling and not really being in alignment with the person that I truly desire to be. And so letting go of alcohol really just opened my eyes and just helped me process and let go and become the version that I've always wanted to be. I never thought I would be here today, honestly. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I was so lost. Like I was just, working a job, working in sales just to make money and because I was good at it, but I really didn't know where my path would take me. And
Mhm.
so, one thing led to another and stopping to drink, taking care of myself, learning to love myself. That was, a huge part of my journey. And again, just taking care of myself. That was a huge part. So a few years ago when I moved back to Houston, when I was craving community. Like I mentioned, I didn't want to hang out with the people I used to hang out with back in the day. I did have my close friends here, but I was really craving a community where I could, go out, connect, have fun, and not get fucked up. And so I started creating events. I did like sober paint parties. I did like sober brunch events and just a way for people to get together and have fun and again, not get fucked up. And then I actually still work in the alcohol space, and that's where the idea of a sober bar crawl came from. But I do some contract work for a company that throws alcohol based bar crawls. And so that's where the idea came from. So, January, I launched my first one and actually, take it back. A year ago, I wanna say, it wasn't a bar crawl, but it was called Magic Mocktails, and I had, like, 100 people come out, and it was just a way for people to enjoy alternatives to alcohol. So we had different non-alcoholic options, 420 friendly options, functional mushroom options, and they're all, yeah, alcohol, zero proof based mocktails. And everyone had such a great time. And it's just a different conversation too, like people aren't talking
100%.
about like, oh, I got so fucked up last night, or like, oh, I felt like shit, this morning from going out last night or whatever. No, it's like, let's have conversations that are like on this higher consciousness. So yeah, and then the first zero proof crawl I launched in January, and that was a hit. That was in Houston, and now the next one is for Pride. And it's going to be June 27th, and I'm doing three cities: Houston, Austin, and Dallas. And one of the reasons that I wanted to throw a Pride crawl, I always get excited about Pride just because it's the most wonderful time of the year. But also, I've just been on this deep journey of honoring that side of myself. Like, I have always been in relationships with men, but I've always been, very attracted to women and had sexual experiences with women. But because of like deep conditioning and my parents not approving that about me, I just kind of hid it away. But over the past couple years, really learning to own and honor all sides of me. And so this year Pride is a little extra special because I'm finally like opening up and being more public about it. Like I've, spoken to my friends about it, but not so much as in like the past year or so, especially now. And like this podcast is the first time that I'm like openly expressing about, my sexuality and my desires. So Pride is extra special this year.
I feel like we need the "I'm coming out" song behind
Yeah.
us. I'll add that in.
Okay.
No,
'Cause this would be like my
congratulations.
official "I'm coming
Yeah,
out" moment. So, because on
we'll
social
throw in some
media, I've done
streamers.
like yeah, on social media, I've done like little soft launches. Like I have this tattoo that I got a couple years ago, so
Oh,
occasionally,
yeah.
I'll like put this in my photos or, create some content around it, but nothing like, "Hey, I'm gay."
Yeah, no, I love that, and,
Yeah.
we always talk about, like I think when we first talked, it was I always laugh a little when people in the sober communities say that they came out on social media, that they're sober, and it's like I know way too well exactly how you're feeling, the nervousness,
Mhm.
the excitement,
Yeah.
what are people gonna say, and I'm like, there's so many parallels to coming out as
Yeah.
being queer, and it's I've talked to people who they reach that part of their journey, and sometimes they just don't even know, that they were, but it's just like, yeah, like you were saying, we're just so in this lane and we're so like, this is how it's supposed to be that we don't allow ourselves
Yeah.
to experience these things.
Yeah.
And I just think it's awesome. And I think, I mean, yeah, pride is the best way to do it. Pride bar
Yeah.
crawl, that
Yeah.
the sober bar crawl. I was so excited, and I have my group here and we're trying to get stuff together and trying to do stuff, and it is a balance though, right? Because not everybody
Mhm.
can do it. Not everybody feels comfortable being in a bar and stuff like that, which I get it. But when I shared your event with them, a lot of people were excited. So I'm
Awesome.
definitely looking forward to it. And yeah, just diving more, and I think we could talk a little bit about like identity. So how would you actually, like, identify yourself? Like, where do we fall on the spectrum?
Yeah.
Do we like the labels? What are we doing?
So I've never liked labels just in general. I don't like putting myself in a box or yeah, putting some identity on it. I know it helps a lot of people to like name it.
Mhm,
But for me, I've just always been like I like what I like. It's really more about energy and just being very fluid and like I'm a free bird, like I don't like being put in a box, like, I wanna be free and do what feels good with who it feels good with. If I had to, put a label on myself, I don't even know, I don't like it, I like what I
and
like,
you don't and you don't have
Yeah.
to. I think
I
that
like women, I like men, sometimes something in between.
uh, well, and I think that's the beauty of it. It's like, just like we do with our sobriety, it's we get to define it however we want, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
whether that is fully sober, Cali sober, whatever
right,
it is,
yeah,
it's the same thing with who you're attracted to, right? Like, I will say I'm maybe 95% into guys. I
mhm,
did that. That's just what gets me going.
yeah,
But there I can see when women are attractive and when, they do have a sex appeal, and I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like, I could see that. But
mhm,
how I like look at it now, it's like I'm able to go back and see what I'm excited about, like what excites me. And, with this leather contest, the whole leather community is just about acceptance and about
yeah,
your kink and BDSM and just these things that you get to explore. And I think that's just
yeah,
kind of really cool to say, like, not put yourself in a box, and just because I go off of vibes a lot. Like, I love connection, and so when people ask me, like, "What's my type?" I'm like, it could be, I have a wide range, but
mm,
conversation and personality, that kinda goes
yeah,
a little further for me as well, and I think
totally.
being sober kinda enhances that, because now I'm looking for actual connections with people, not just
Yeah,
casual
sex.
sex.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right,
Absolutely,
casual.
absolutely. And, I will say, like, especially over the past couple months, I've been doing a lot of deep reflection around like my identity and sexuality. And I realized like I enjoy being in that masculine container, like dating a
Mhm,
man just because I like to be taken care of, provided for. And I know women can do it too. I haven't had, the opportunity. Like if it happens, it happens.
yeah,
And I will say I've noticed I'm just more physically attracted to women. I think they're more attractive. There's not many men that I'm physically attracted to, but if the
mhm,
energy, like if we, vibe on that energetic spiritual level, then I'm definitely attracted to them physically.
yeah,
So that's kind of what I've noticed about myself. And even when I was younger, like I would only watch girl on girl porn. I wasn't really interested in like, having a man in there. And at Pride, this was something funny I was thinking about yesterday, and you brought it up earlier, is so from 15 to 21 years old, I would go to Pride every year. Back then, I didn't really acknowledge or own that part of myself,
mhm,
but all my friends were gay, lesbian, And so, but I was like so excited to go every single year. I would round everybody up, make the plan, and it's like, what is this straight little girl, doing at Pride with all,
Wink,
all her
wink.
gay friends? And I'm like, okay, probably because I was a little gay back then too, and I would make out with girls there, even though I had a boyfriend. Like, okay, those are signs, right? Now, just reflecting back on that
Yeah,
time period, it's like, and I would make out with my best friends. And there was this one girl that, yeah, I did have feelings for when I was like 21, and I think it was like a traumatic experience. And so not having feelings for her, but that connection, something happened with
right.
her, and then yeah, I wonder if like that experience kind of steered me back to men just because I'm used to it. But now coming back to, just owning all the parts of me and liking what I like, and that feels good to me.
Yeah, congratulations on that. I think it's gonna be fun. It's just like a lot of fun. Like, well, not a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. But no, I think it's great. It's just a fun journey to go on to be
Yeah.
able to figure out, like, what I like, what I don't like, what can evolve, over
Mhm.
time, and, who's to say, a year from now, you might be like, "Well, hey, I'm just a full-on lesbian," like, or be like, "I'm just bi," or, "I'm still
Yeah.
going off vibes. I don't
Yeah.
need a label still,"
Yeah.
and that's why, like, yeah, when people get caught up on just so many things, and I can relate it to sobriety, the leather
Mhm.
community, the queer community overall, like, I like when I see people who are just so open and accepting, especially if you're in a world where it's like, I don't know if I belong.
Yeah.
Where do I belong? And to see these people just kind of accept you for who you are
Yeah.
is freaking amazing. And I get that vibe from all. Is everything perfect? No. But I have found my group, my chosen family in these spaces. And
Beautiful.
I just love that we get to experience it and just kind of apply. Being sober really just taught me how to live. Like,
Yeah.
and in every set. So, like, I'm always grateful for that, and, to really just live in each of those moments. And yeah, I've been to a few prides where I have made an ass of myself. I don't remember. I'm walking around, like, apartments trying. I remember one year I was trying to find my backpack, and I don't know what apartment. There's a few apartments where down in Oakland. Don't remember which one I was at,
Yeah.
and
I've had
the
moments like that too.
yeah, and then, I've gone to, what is it, maybe 2 prides? I've gone to 2 prides sober, and it's a whole different experience. Like, it
Mhm.
is a whole different experience to I just remember because 1, it's busy, right? Obviously, super busy. I posted up on the 2nd floor at Woody's, out on the balcony, sat or stood there, and we watched the parade come down, and it was the first time I was actually able to see the parade in
Mm.
full, and it was just so, like, just being in that moment and really living in the moment
Yeah.
is what made it incredible. And I'm like, so when people talk crap about pride and, "Oh, it's just, whatever," I'm like, "Fuck off." I love pride. I love going out,
Mhm.
being able to celebrate, and especially now
Yeah.
where we've taken so many steps back. It's just like,
Mhm.
now's the time to show up, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna show up. I was gonna say the gayest thing I could find, but I don't. Let me just put on a different T-shirt. It
Yeah.
all works in the same way. But
Yeah.
no, that's awesome. So, are you actually? So, let's talk about this bar crawl because I have
Mhm.
questions,
Okay.
and I've had people ask me questions.
Okay.
Um, so we start at one place. Are we moving together in a group to each place, or is it kind of like a choose your own adventure? What are we doing?
Yeah, so it's a choose your own adventure. You start at the check-in spot. You get your wristband. That wristband is going to have a QR code on it. You scan that QR code. It's going to pull up a digital crawl map that has a list of all the bars participating, along with the drink specials. And you get exclusive drink specials. You get two free drinks, two non-alcoholic free drinks. You're going to get some drink tickets to be able to redeem them at specific bars, which that map will share which bars to go to get your freebies. And then you just bar hop from bar to bar at your own pace. So you create your own adventure. And the reason that I do it like this is because these bar crawls are typically on the larger side. So we're going to have like 50 to 100 people in some cities. So, imagine having like 50 people coming into one bar at a time, right? Everyone's going to be waiting for like an hour just to get their drinks. So instead, you go with your, small groups, you meet people there, you form a small group, 10 people, go from bar to bar, stay as long as you want, one drink, two drink, because some people also just want to hang out at one bar. They're like, I love this bar. I want to keep, hang out, dancing
Yeah.
all night, right? So you have a choice. You're not forced to stay or go anywhere that you don't want to. Whatever feels good and just having fun, going out, being able to enjoy non-alcoholic options and connecting with like-minded people and just celebrating pride. That's what it's all about and not feeling like you have to get fucked up. And this is for not just sober people, but sober curious, the 420 friendly community. There's going to be some 420 friendly options there too. So, there's some people that they've been wanting to cut back or stop drinking alcohol. So this is a great way to be able to experience something like this. Or they might have one drink there right there. It's not saying like don't drink alcohol. Like if you are part of this bar crawl and you want to consume, right? You have a choice. You're at a bar. But it's really focused on the zero proof options. So,
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I'm excited for it because when I go out, typically I'm the only one that doesn't drink in my friend group.
mm,
And I have fun with them up until a certain extent
right.
because then they get drunk and then,
Yeah.
I'm like, "All right, got to go. This is my time."
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it'll be great to know that there's going to be other people there on the same level. And I don't know if I told you this before, but I went to it was a CMA pool party, Crystal Meth Anonymous pool party, and it was one of the best summer pool parties I've ever been to
Yeah.
because there was no pressure to have alcohol there, no pressure for
Mm,
drugs to be there. It was
yeah.
just going, and I knew a couple of people, but I didn't really know a lot of people, but everybody was just saying hi, and it was just a lot of fun, and usually when I go to pool parties, there's obviously heavy alcohol, there's Jello
Mhm.
shots and,
Yeah.
all that, so I have to be always on guard and have my I call it my ice chest. I just put out an episode, like, "What's in my ice chest?" And,
Yeah.
I have my different options of my drinks, but to go there and just knowing that nothing was gonna be there, that's not even a question, was really
Mm,
great feeling to have, and, yeah, like, I always highlight them. They had a what was it? They had a twerk contest, they had a daddy
right.
contest, like, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of
Yeah, it
fun to
sounds like
do,
it.
so having
Cool.
a group where we're all on the same page, just
Yeah.
doing what I usually do, just go bar to bar, I think that's a lot of fun. So,
Yeah, and
I
just
just gotta make
no
sure.
pressure.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Like, just no pressure, right? No pressure to drink or do something that doesn't feel good, and, I was thinking it's very liberating to be able to go out and not drink and still have such a fun time. Honestly, I feel like now that I'm sober, I have way more fun than I ever did when I was getting blackout drunk.
Yeah. No, I let's talk about that because, I have a couple of friends that they'll go out, but it's not the same. Like, I've interviewed, like, DJs and I've interviewed, um drag queens, who still go out, they still have their nighttime gigs and everything like that, but they don't stay in the bar afterwards, or it's very limited, and I'm like, "I wanna talk to people who like to go out." So, like, when you go out, how do you, like, prepare or, like, what do you do?
Yeah. So I actually went out last Friday. I went out dancing with my friends and it was such a fun time. Like we got there probably like at 10 p.m. and we stayed all the way till 2 a.m. just dancing and it was such a blast. I did take a microdose, so that helps a lot. But
Yeah,
it's such a small amount, and it really just helps you like just get back into your body and be so present and connected, and just like feeling the energy. You're not getting fucked up, you're not tripping out. It's like working in the background. So,
yeah,
but yeah, it was such a good time, and it's so funny because the whole experience, like, I don't go out often, not like I used to,
mhm,
only once in a while, and yeah, it was when we went out, it really felt like I was back in high school again or college, like going to my friends, getting ready. We put some music on, and then we met up our other friends that were already there, and yeah, we just danced all night. It was such a good time, and like you get a, it's like a natural high, and
Yeah.
dancing is such a beautiful medicine. Like, that is really a great way to like move energy, move your emotions. Like if you're feeling anxious, just move your body.
Mhm.
And it also helps to process emotions too. So I know you had mentioned something about that earlier. So like for me, dance, moving my body, breathing, breath work is a great way to like move emotions and energy. And then like working with plant medicine too. So yeah, it was such a great time, such a beautiful
Yeah.
experience.
And I think you hit on a very important point. uh, of you went like, you had a mission, right? Like, you had a clear like, "I wanna go dance,"
Yeah.
where I think a lot of people are like so you were excited for the dance, right? Like, you were
Yeah.
excited to experience that with your friends and, just
Hmm.
totally let loose, where I think people, when they go to events or they go out, whatever they do, they're thinking about all the negative things that can happen
Hmm.
there to where we're missing out on everything. So, like, I'll tell my
Yeah.
clients, like, whatever you're wherever you're going, look into it beforehand and see what is going on there that you're gonna find
Yeah.
fun. It's
Yeah.
like I always say this is totally when we had corporate potlucks, I always made stuff that I know I was gonna eat. That's what
Mhm.
I would take, because I don't know what all this is gonna do, so I'm
Yeah.
still gonna enjoy this potluck even if I'm eating with myself or what I made.
Mhm.
And I equated to that. It's like, have something that is you are so excited about that alcohol doesn't come in, like all these negative things
Yeah.
don't come in because then you're just gonna and yes, we do, you have more time under your belt than I do, so you've probably, navigated those, I've navigated those, but it's just something to start working on, early sobriety. I mean, I was like 5 months in when I was going back to happy hours, just
Mhm.
going and again, I was leaving early, it doesn't look the same, but I was doing it because I was like, I enjoy hanging
Yeah.
out with these people because I don't just see them on Fridays. I see them during the week. We play Dungeons and
Mhm.
Dragons. We have trivia nights and stuff like that. So it's like, we're friends. So
Yeah.
it's like I will see you here and then I'll see you sometime during the week. So I
Mhm.
think if you go and you have something that you're excited about, it makes it a lot easier to forget the rest. And
Yeah.
I am with you on the dancing. Like, I started looking up, like, what is it? Somatic movement, somatic dancing,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I tell you, I have a dance party all around my house. Like,
Yes. Love that.
I love and before, it was like, I wouldn't start dancing until I was drunk, but
Yeah.
I love to
I
dance.
know, right? And
And I was
imagine
just
being able to just dance freely sober, like, how
yeah.
beautiful is that?
For sure, and I will say, and I don't I've said this to a couple of people, but, like, for myself, drugs were never an issue. Like, I've done Molly maybe a handful of times, like, it was never like, alcohol, that's why I never really got too far into the circuit parties because it is heavily drugs there, but I was like, "No, I wanna drink. I need to go this way to these parties."
Yeah.
But, like, there was one, it was New Year's, and I was like, "Okay, we're going to an event." So I did take a Molly that night, but in reality, it was just to stay up
Mm.
past midnight. Like,
Yeah.
and I laugh about it. That was, like, I think my first year in sobriety, and it was just funny because I was like, "I don't know how else I'm gonna stay up. Like, what is going on?" And so, yeah, like, I'm starting to, like, look into different ways because I do like THC drinks. I don't drink them all the time. Sometimes it can trigger my, anxiety a little,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
it's like, I'm always a little hesitant, but yeah,
Mm.
definitely. But I think that's life, right? We get to explore
Yeah.
things. We get to see
Yes.
what works, and what doesn't work.
Absolutely.
And I think we could both agree alcohol does not work.
Absolutely. Mhm. Yeah.
So, bef
For
bef
something that I like to
yeah,
to
go for it.
consume to help me stay up, is teas, like sweet tea. I had a yerba mate, that night that I went out drinking. I had it way too late though, so I, like, couldn't go to sleep till, like, 4 in the morning. So that's something to be mindful of too, like, to not drink caffeine too late, because 'cause it'll keep you up all night. So, yeah, it's, a learning process. I will say I do wanna share that so technically I've been 5 years sober, but I did have a relapse about 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
I was with somebody, a partner, and I was all sorts of fucked up around the energy, and so I only had 1 glass of wine. I was, like, with friends, and I wanted to just enjoy and have a good time, but, I'm very spiritual and very sensitive to energies, and the person that I was with, not a good person,
Mhm.
or I don't like to say that. I don't like to say that people are good or bad. I think people have had bad experiences that have made
Yeah.
them do bad things, but it was just not a healthy connection. And basically all my shit came up. I became somebody that was not me, and it was just from 1 glass of wine because like I mentioned, the spiritual veil was lifted, and I feel like I was possessed by demons, like, just from 1 glass
Yeah.
of wine. I was just all sorts of fucked up. So that was not good. I was like, "Yep, this is why I do not drink." I can't. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm too susceptible to, things happening like that.
Yeah, I had a relapse 3 months in.
Mm.
Mine was, future tripping because I had
Mm,
an event to go to that I had booked before I got sober, and I was going back and forth. Am I wanting to drink? Am I not wanting to drink? Maybe I can only drink on vacations. Like,
mm,
it's that whole battle, right? And
yeah.
finally, I said, fuck it. I'm done stressing out about it. It's coming up. And it was to New Orleans, and I drank a week before. It didn't even cross my mind to let me try to moderate. Let's see if I can actually do this, with no,
Mhm.
it was off to the races. Like,
Yeah.
I remember my first drink, and I still remember this till this day of how that first drink, like even right now, my stomach is feeling that same feeling. Like I
Mm,
drank it, it burned. I was always a vodka soda. It burned. My stomach was nauseous, and I feel that right now. That's so crazy. But
mm,
I was like, just push through it. It's been 3 months, it's fine. And yeah, I mean, nothing bad happened at the end of the night, but I was at home with my best friend. We're drinking a non alcoholic beer at the end, the irony of it. And,
yeah.
I just looked over to him. I was like, this isn't it. I don't like this. And
Yeah.
so it's been 21 months since then. And it's like, I,
Beautiful.
it's just that don't. And I like, even I did we're talking about the wine walk that we did yesterday, and I was pouring wine for people, and, it
Mm,
splashes, right? And, like, I went and I was trying to dry my hands, but I got a whiff of the wine, and I was like, "This is just
mhm.
not it."
Yeah.
Plus it was shitty wine, so it's
That
like,
doesn't
I feel like if I'm
It's gonna
gonna
make you
drink
nauseous regardless.
yeah, like, I feel like if I'm gonna ever drink again, like, I'm gonna go for the high dollar, like, stuff.
Yeah.
But I was like, "This is" it was like the Gaio brand, I think that's what you call it, but I
Yeah,
was like, "This
yeah,
is
like the
not."
$5 bottle of wine, yeah.
Yeah, it was just disgusting
Yeah.
and
No, I
ugh.
totally get that. And it's interesting, like, now I'm able to be around it, at first and, with COVID and being stuck inside, not being able to go out, that helped a lot, just not being around it. But I know how it can be difficult, like, especially around, like, peer pressure, everyone else is drinking, right? And just, yeah, it can be very difficult to be around it when you're first early on to your sobriety journey. Now, being 5 years in, I wanna continue saying 5 years, and, like, the relapse happened, but it's not, I still consider, like, 5 years sober. Anyway,
Yeah,
so, um being sober for so long now, I can be around alcohol and, especially because I throw these events in bars and it feels really good, and I know some people can't. I've had people say, I would love to go, but I'm very early into my sobriety journey. So it can't be around things that may trigger. And I totally get that and totally respect that. Right. So, this isn't about like pressuring people and telling people like, oh, go out, and you could
right.
be around it, but if you don't feel good, if you don't feel, like, strong in that identity, because talking about identity, that is something that probably the one thing that I identify with is being sober because it's really been a difficult journey for me in sobriety, and just the relationship that I had with alcohol, and I just cannot have a relationship with alcohol at all. It's not
Yeah.
ever just one, it's never just one for me. It was always just how many can I drink? Like, and I was proud of it. Like, oh, I got, 10 drinks. I got so fucked up, but now I feel so deeply rooted in that identity and belief that I do not consume alcohol. And that's what I teach people too is when you want to make a choice, whether it's you don't want to drink alcohol anymore, you don't want to eat unhealthy anymore, you want to work out, it's really about creating a new identity for yourself, right? It's like I am not a person that consumes alcohol. I am not a person that, eats unhealthy food, right? And it's like really rewiring those deep subconscious beliefs because there's people, you say, oh yeah, I do have a couple drinks, or I drink moderately, and or I love going out and drinking, right? That's you're gonna continue doing those things even though deep down you don't want to, but if you say that you do consume, you're gonna keep consuming, right? And sometimes it is kind of like an all or nothing thing, but yeah, it's a lot of like deep subconscious rewiring that has to happen to let go of things like that, especially when it's deeply rooted into who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. That was very well said. Very well said. Like, I mean, because yeah, it is. And that's why I keep going back of, we can always recreate ourselves. We don't have to stay in this spot forever. Like I mean, hell, I can start drinking tomorrow. Like it's if I choose to, but I see the upsides of sobriety and everything that I've been able to do since I've gotten sober and how it's improved. I mean, damn well every aspect of my life.
Mhm.
Like, it's like, yeah, I don't see how I could give this up, you know?
Yeah.
And I always say, like, I'm never gonna say I'm not gonna drink again because I don't know what the future holds. I don't know what's gonna happen. But, at least I can just wake up each day and choose, I'm not gonna drink today,
Yeah.
and let's worry about tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's try to not do it today. And I think it's like for myself, putting it in that frame just makes this so much easier because I mean, it is a very long time. We have the rest
Yeah.
of our lives to be sober. And the people in my community, there's a gentleman that's 44 years sober. One of my
Wow.
coworkers is 45 years sober. And
Beautiful.
I'm like, holy shit. Like, I mean, these are the OGs, the
Mhm.
so it's
Wow.
like but I
So
love
cool.
learning from them. I love listening to what they say, and,
Uh,
I might not agree with everything, but I'm damn near gonna look into it, whatever they say, because clearly,
they're doing
something
something
works for
right.
them.
Yeah. Beautiful. No, I
Yeah.
love that.
So before we wrap up, I always like to ask my guests, if someone was to come up to you and ask you, "Hey, I'm thinking about giving up alcohol," or what
Mm.
advice would you give them?
Ooh, that's a great question. I'll say start by learning to love yourself. Start by learning to take care of yourself and nourishing yourself and giving yourself everything that you need so that you don't feel like you need to drink alcohol, and really assess like what is it that you need? Are you just craving connection? Are you craving a new life, a new city, a new relationship, a new, work, business, right? And because as we know, like when we drink alcohol, we're not really living the life that we truly want to live, right? So just learning to love yourself and learning to live in alignment with your truth and who you want to actually live. So that would be like I think my first piece of advice.
Yeah. No, I love that you said, love yourself so much that you don't need that. And I always say I need to build this life that makes alcohol so small and so
Yeah.
far out that I'm not even thinking about it. And
Mhm.
the fact that I'm like on my way to do it, like just makes it like I get motivated so much more and
Yeah.
because it always sucks because not every day is gonna be great, right? Not every day is gonna be, like, sobriety is amazing.
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, they always say drinking is the easy part of
Yeah.
sobriety. Dealing with all of
Mhm.
the other bullshit is that's
Oof.
what's hard.
Yeah.
And so it's
Mhm.
like, how do we get through it? But it's like when we have these amazing days, that's what I always tell clients. Like, if you have an amazing day, like just everything is good, feel that, write it down, try to get in every detail you can, because
Mm.
you might need to reflect on that later. You might need to go back and look
Yeah.
at that and remember, like, on a shitty day, like, yeah, this is all the roller coaster of it, the ups and downs of it. And
Yeah.
this is gonna pass, right? Like, that you will get through this, and, I told,
This too shall pass.
"This too shall pass," right? I hate
Yeah.
the cliches, I hate them so much, but they work.
They would, and, it's so funny, just, things from
Uh,
AA, right? I don't know if you can
yeah,
read that. Was it backwards? I don't know,
the
I can't see
Serenity.
it.
Yeah, the Serenity
Yeah.
prayer.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I bought this a couple years back and, it's still always, a big part of my life, just
yeah,
prayer, right? Having a spiritual connection, like, that was really one of the biggest pieces. I guess if I had to give another big piece of advice is reconnect back to your spiritual side, whether,
yes,
you had it or not before, like, God, universe, source energy, whatever you resonate with, like, that is what is going to guide you and protect you from drinking alcohol and doing all the things that you don't wanna be doing.
yeah, and yeah, because you can't do it on your own. Like,
Yeah,
I mean, there are people out there that, and kudos to them, but I think it's a lot easier when you have a community, when you have a spiritual
absolutely,
practice, when you have these tools to help you out along the way. So,
absolutely.
yeah, no, I think that's really, really awesome. And yeah, the cliches, I hate them, but they work. Like,
Yeah.
because it's like,
Yeah,
especially like when you're having like a shitty day and someone's just like, just sit with the feelings. No, I don't want to sit with the feelings right now. That's why I'm pissed.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but they
And
work, you get to sit with
maybe
the good and the bad.
that's if you're pissed, you rage out. That's what I say. If you're
Yeah.
pissed, rage out.
Oh,
Put
I
on
rage
some rock
journal.
and roll music. Yes.
Yeah. I'm like, and then I bring up stuff like, well, yeah, I remember in 3rd grade, that asshole, like, just
Yeah,
whatever it takes. But yeah, no,
yeah.
I love it. I love it. I think we could talk forever on a lot of
Mhm.
these things, but
Yeah.
Avital, thank you so, so much for being here. Thank you so much for putting on this bar crawl, this sober bar crawl, sober and proud. Everybody, I am going to drop the link in the show notes. Make sure you use my code out and about 15 for 15% off, which the tickets are already affordable. So just go get them. And
Yeah.
it's going to
Yeah,
be a
that's
good
like
time.
10 bucks. Yeah, it's gonna be
Yeah. If you're in
amazing.
Dallas, I'm going to be there. I'd love to meet y'all. Avital, anything else what else is coming up for you? Where can people find you?
Yeah, so if you wanna follow the Instagram page, Zero Proof Crawls, that's where I post all my events. I'm planning the next one after Pride. It's gonna be Sober October, so it's gonna be, like a Halloween themed one,
Love
Dry
it.
January, and then 420. So right now, just focusing on four sober events a year. So check it out on Instagram, Zero Proof Crawls, and hopefully I'll see you at one of the events one day.
Yeah, for sure. The gays love a theme. So anytime there's a theme, I'm like, yep.
Yeah. Yep, just any a reason to get dressed up, go out, have fun, and not get
Yeah.
fucked up.
Exactly. Right. All right, Avital. Well, thank you again so much for being here. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening. Make sure you subscribe, leave us a review, rate us, all that good stuff. But most importantly, make sure you take care of yourselves, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening. If you connected with this episode, feel free to comment and leave us a review. You can find me on Instagram at OutandAboutAF. Take care of yourself, and we'll catch you on the next episode.